All right, I'm getting myself set up here for some contemplation. We've been having some radical conversations in the last couple days, and I want to fill you in on it. We're enjoying the sun. We got the weekly club newsletter, and I was scrolling through it. It advertises forthcoming events, charter opportunities, classes that are coming online pretty soon or available. And then at the end, there was a notice that they're selling one of the boats that was in the fleet, and this kind of caught my attention. What? We actually know the boat. We've looked at it a couple of times. We were on it, and we like it. And we were starting to talk now, despite everything I said about the benefits of chartering, the hassles that I have understood about owning boats, and all the knee slappers out there, like boat stands for bring out another 1,000 and so on. So we started to try to do some calculations and do the pros and cons. The pros of chartering, which include whenever you want to do it, you can do it. You can stop doing it whatever time. You got no responsibility for the boat, but it's expensive to do that on a day-to-day basis. And so the question is really a matter of how often do you want to hang out on it and go out. And the pros to ownership there would be that you can use it all the time, and if you it doesn't take that many hours or days to exceed the amount of money that you would have spent chartering for the equivalent amount of time. Of course, the disadvantages include now you're responsible for the whole thing, and so what I really wanted to do was understand just what it would cost. And this is not a very easy question to answer from scratch. It takes a lot of investigation, digging, calling marinas, and figuring it out. So here's the list that we just wanted to understand the implications here. So the projected cost that we're trying to imagine. First of all, there's the cost of the boat itself, and if there's financing involved, calculate what is your down payment going to be, but then what are your monthly expenses going to be, and that's just like a car payment. That's one figure. What does it cost to berth the boat? Where do you want to actually stick it in a marina? And we like to keep it here, obviously. The whole benefit to us with this marina is that it's close to the house. And it's nice to be able to walk over there. We can walk the dogs over there and enjoy it at any time. But interesting to find out what other marinas charge for a slip that accommodates the size of this boat. And luckily it's on the smaller size of boats. I mean, as a 26-foot boat, it doesn't take up a whole lot of real estate. Insurance, what's the quote on that? Luckily we're not in Florida, where there's not a lot of hurricane risk all the time. Gas expenses, if you're going to be taking it out more and enjoying it, what are the costs of gas going to be per month as you cruise around at 7 gallons per hour at a kind of modest little cruising speed. And then, of course, the big one is maintenance. What is it going to cost to maintain the boat and have it serviced annually? And we know that there's annual engine services. However, they're not always the same, because it also depends on how many hours the engine has. So this engine has 520 hours on it, which is a good number. But at 600 hours, there's a 600-hour service, which is a much more comprehensive thing, where they have to remove the lower shaft and do a lot more work, and it's going to be a lot more expensive than the annual service, like a normal one where you would just change the oil and the filters and things like that. So that's just the engine, or just the outboard motor. There's also the anti-fouling paint that needs to be applied to it on us every couple of years. Depends, I guess. How much does that cost? I've got a number on that. If you want anything else done to it, if there's any mechanical issues, so I was looking at marinas and trying to figure out what they cost and what could you imagine, and then throw in a couple of more X items to see that you cannot anticipate, and see how much that would add up to. So I did all the math here as best I could, trying to pad it a little bit towards the unexpected. And is it a number that we're comfortable with? It's on the border. I'm going to say it's not exactly. I mean, my calculations are that it's going to cost under $2,000 a month, but it's not as cheap as chartering. If we charter, a one-day charter is actually about $800. So, charter twice, and you've hit your monthly payment for all this other stuff of ownership. So the question is really about one of commitment and time, and what kind of enjoyment you'd get out of it. I think the big issue for us is, quite frankly, that we do enjoy just hanging out on the boat, but also very important, it kind of acts as a second spare bedroom and bath, because we can actually have people stay on it. It's small. It's a little bit like camping, but they can sleep on the boat, and they can use the facilities. They can use the marina facilities, and even go into the building there and enjoy the more comfortable on-land facilities. So all of these things are part of the whole calculation. Meanwhile, check out our lemons. They did pretty good. Nice harvest this last weekend. Hope that's not some sort of symbolism. I think the thing we need to do is to start looking at the boat a little more closely, and look at the asset itself. Maybe take it for a test drive, if that's a thing in the marine world, and see what we can discern about our level of commitment when we get to know her a little bit better. Today's a big day because we're going to be going over to Club Nautique in just a minute to basically give the Baby Beluga a test ride. We're going to see how it handles with the single engine maneuverability, and we're going out with either the guy who builds the boats there, constructs them once they are delivered, or an instructor. I'm not sure. I've never met the person before, but I know Colin is the guy who constructs the boats, and that's who we're going out with. At least that's the name. So we're going to see how it goes, and whether we like it. It's my boating information binder. This has got all kinds of information about the boats that we drive, and now I can stick this in here. I'll have to organize this more a little later. This is today's weather forecast, which is my log, or my data sheet. It's going to be sunny with a high to 67 in San Francisco, 71 in Alameda. In the afternoon, when the fog clears out, should be clearing out in about the next hour or so. Winds 5 to 10 knots. Got a high tide at 9:44 a.m., which is in about 1 hour. And that's interesting because usually for the last few months, we've been dealing with low tide in the morning. So it's going to be we're only going to be out for about 2 hours, so we're going to be pretty much slack tide. Alright, so here's what happened. We did the test ride, which I think properly is called sea trial, and it went really well. We knew we liked the boat. I mean, we had been on it before, and it's the same manufacturer as the ones that we've been spending a lot of time on. Really the main purpose for me to go out there, and we were with Colin, was to get a feel for the single engine, and whether long term that would be a very comfortable thing, particularly in windy conditions. Docking, it's a little less maneuverable than the twin engine, which is what I'd been trained on and what we had been chartering for a few months. With the twin engine, you have two outboard Yamahas, and you can do the split throttle, and you can spin the boat around on its axis, and It's very handy. Plus, the twin engine is obviously a lot faster. And but on the other hand, it's twice as expensive, and you got two engines to do annual service on, and gas is more expensive because you're burning more of it. So there are sort of disadvantages. In any case, we went out. It was a fun ride. We came back to the marina and did a couple of docking, which was no problem. When we were coming into the final dock where they park the boat, they tend to back this boat in to the slip, and so I said to Colin, I'll back it in, how it should be, and because there was a bit of a breeze and maybe the current was going this direction. My thought was that if this was the slip and the wind is coming from this direction, I would maybe overshoot a little bit, and then with the stern into the wind, back it up and just like a car, kind of pull it into its spot. But that didn't really go so well. It was no big problem, but it was a little harder to get the boat to, especially the bow kept getting pushed, so which is what happens. Even though there's a bow thruster, I was trying to just do one kind of movement. So I asked Colin, is this how he would approach this? And he manages all the boats. He gets gas for all the boats that are out, and so he's always docking. There's like 20 sailboats and a handful of power boats, and he's really familiar with them all. Anyway, I said, is this how you would go about it? And he said no. So I said, okay, maybe why don't you take the helm and let me see how you do it. So what his technique was, which makes a lot of sense, you stop the boat here before you get to the slip, let the wind drift the boat down, and then you just at the right moment back it in. So that's what I ended up doing my second attempt, and it was just fine. So let the elements help you, and don't try to fight them. I guess that's the message there. So it was a great trip out. We went back to the marina and decided, after a little discussion with Deanne, that we would go and talk to the broker, and we decided to put the offer in on the boat. So we put an offer in. She drew up the contract. We sent it to the seller. The seller looked at it, gave a counter offer, which we anticipated, but the number that he came back with was what we were also comfortable with. So we agreed on the price. We're happy about the price. We think it's a good deal. We also think it's a fair price, and we're not too freaked out about this overall expense at this point. And one thing I learned, which I did not know starting off this process, was that buying a boat is much more like buying a house than it is buying a car. So the terms of the loan, and we're taking out, we're going to finance some of this, is over a 20-year period, and that makes the monthly payments pretty low, which is nice. And I think that's what encourages people to spend more and buy bigger boats and so on. But also, weirdly, you can deduct the interest on a loan for this kind of boat on your taxes, like a second home. So who knew? So the next step in the process is also kind of like a home. You have an inspection, and we hired a marine surveyor. We're going to go shortly in a couple of days to a place where they haul out the boat, and then you can inspect. He will inspect the entire boat, the hull underneath, and look for any damage, look for anything that needs to be repaired. We can then go back, do a final negotiation if anything needs to be done. But it's pretty new. It's a 2020 boat, so it's not, and they've taken good care of it at the school, so I think we shouldn't see any problems, but it'll be fun to see the boat out. So I'll be recording that. And that's where we stand right now. And the dogs are going crazy. Nuts. What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? Today's an interesting day. It's survey day. Here we are on the way to the boat yard at Point Richmond, where the boat will be hauled out and inspected. I hired Captain Andy, a member of the Society of Accredited Marine Surveyors, to inspect the boat. Back at the home dock, he had already checked out all the internal components, but soon we'll see the bottom of the boat. Look at the size of this catamaran. It doesn't have a mast. Absolutely enormous. There's another angle of that huge catamaran. This is the dock. I think they're just lowering that boat there back into the water. I think we're going to replace that spot. We disembarked, and the guy from the yard casually pushed the boat toward the lift where it floated over the straps that will pick it up. It looks so small and this huge. Having the boat dangling on straps provided the surveyor a good opportunity to explain various things about the boat. Here he was just talking about some motor maintenance. The bottom of the hull looked pretty good, not a lot of growth. Nevertheless, it's time for a fresh coat of anti-fouling paint which prevents algae and marine life from growing. This is a picture of one of the trim tabs, and on the right, the transducer, which is a sonar device determining the depth of the water. This is a picture of the zinc on the motor shaft above the propeller. It's a piece of metal that acts as a sacrificial anode. Basically, it corrodes on behalf of the more expensive metal it's attached to. It has something to do with electrolytes, but in any case, these are in good condition.
This barrier here, this is the barrier between the copper bottom paint and then the aluminum outboard. That's why there's a bare spot to separate the two.
Right.
If you were to paint the outboard with this style paint, it would create a battery. And then you've got another anode.
So that's the engine connector anode right there. There's one under here as well, which looks good. The divers can replace that if need be. That's if you have to release the black water tank at sea, that's where it will come out. We won't be doing that. Sorry, those are the galley drains, and that is the air conditioning drain. And there's one on the other side. More anodes there. Here. After about a half hour of inspection, it was time to plop her back in the salt water and head home. The quick verbal summary by the surveyor advised me that there were no serious issues to be concerned about. Good news. This tugboat is turning this giant tanker around in the channel so that it can head out. I learned that San Francisco tugboats can have 2 Caterpillar engines, each generating over 3,000 horsepower. So if you travel behind one when it's at work moving a large boat, the current that 6,000 horsepower creates can blow your boat off course. Okay, here's the update so far. We got the contracts signed. The parties have all agreed on the final details, and the money has been transferred. It's somewhere in the ether. It's going to take 3 business days, of course, because it's 2024. We don't have computers yet. We got the slip. I want to thank Club Nautique and the Harbor Master for working with me to procure an area in the marina that's got less wind. They had to shuffle a couple of boats from their fleet around to accommodate this, but they did it. I was very grateful for that. So we got a nice slip for hanging out when we're not actually out at sea. Soon we'll get the keys. When you go through the process of now registering the boat under our names, we have the opportunity to rename the boat. And so we're gonna go out, celebrate this milestone by having a beer and talking about boat names. All right, cheers.
Cheers.
All right, so boat names. What is the... I see that.
Because you weren't in it.
No. Boat names. So what's the thinking about how we're going to derive a new name for the boat? And keeping in mind that a lot of the boat names, as everybody knows, if they've walked through a marina, they're either named after women, daughters. Probably the
Wives.
first daughter, I think, is a popular one.
Mistresses.
Or they are like puns. They're plays on words. They're plays on, and they rope in some element of one's career usually.
We also have a lot of classic rock lyrics in the Alameda.
Classic
different
rock
marinas.
lyrics.
Like
So-
there's one that's Comfortably Numb, which is a song.
Comfortably
Pink Floyd.
numb. Yes. So I think that we're going more for the pun and career reflection one, if we can come up with something like that.
Right.
And since we're academics, what do you got?
I searched the web and I found many different names. Some of them were not nice, mostly disgusting. First picture Spring Break,
Mostly
men,
disgusting.
fishing culture, women in a bad way.
Okay.
But
So that was recommended by the internet.
some things I liked Seabatical,
Seabatical.
SEA-batical.
Instead of sabbatical. Okay.
Thoughts?
Right? I like that. Seabatical. Except it implies that we're on sabbatical. I guess in spirit, that's what you are doing when you're on a boat is nothing.
Not tenured, K-N-O-T, tenured.
K-N-O-T, not tenured.
Also in the same family, not K-N-O-T, retired.
Not
because
retired.
We're like ahead of the game on the boat.
Not retired. That's also good.
Not retired.
It could apply to any job.
Yeah. Summer semester. SEA-mester.
Yeah, you could probably just drop summer.
Semester.
Semester.
Doesn't make sense.
Semester off.
Semester.
Semester abroad.
Abroad. Oh, that's actually good.
Semester. Right. That's not bad.
Semester at sea.
Semester at sea.
I think that's a real
Well,
program.
that's 2 C's.
That's too many.
2 C's.
Second bath. No. Ah, I see. SEA. No.
No.
Pass. Okay, philosopher.
Philosopher.
Like with C.
Right. C instead of philosopher. Philosopher.
And how would you spell that?
Philosepher.
Dig it. What about
Philosopher.
philosopherer?
Philosopherer, as in the seafarer.
That's kind of a totally made up word though.
Yeah, these are made up words.
But that's like worse.
I think that the philosopher is good because it reflects the degree and
Doctor of Philosophy.
Doctor of Philosophy, so it kind of reflects what we do. The philosopher. Also, it attributes this to the boat.
So you put the article on there?
The philosopher.
That might be it.
I like it. It has it. It has the elements. All right. I think we're going to contemplate that seriously.
Not so fast.
All right. We've got the keys to what is still called Baby Beluga, but is soon to be called the Philosopher. Welcome aboard the Philosopher. That's great. Did you know?
Oh, nice, pretty.
Yeah. right, so we have access to the boat, and we are setting up for our reception cocktail party with some bubbly of 2 different kinds. Actually 3 different kinds, including the La Croix. Some plastic cups in our cabin. Our new Burgee over there, which I will put on the bow soon. We're leaving the front cover on their windscreen because of the sun. It's very, very hot today. There is our kitchenette, refrigerator. The cabin is down there. More later. We just literally opened it up, and sitting under the bimini in the shade, it's like 87 degrees, which for us is hot. There it is. We enjoyed our champagne and sparkling water with old friends and new friends who had helped us navigate the purchase of the boat. While there were a lot more steps involved than I anticipated, we're fortunate that it all went pretty smoothly. All right, cheers everybody.
Congrats.
Our soiree was also joined by our friend from the club, Colin, who had looked after the boat for the past 4 years, and he gave me some pointers. People have come, they're gone. Just a lovely evening. Here's the cockpit. We cleaned up a little bit. We're just finishing up a little bit the champagne. Approaching the sunset hour. It's our day sun bed cushion in the front bow. Coming back from the dockside bathroom journey.
I think maybe that one's closer. Let's try that one. That's the one I know.